Ready? Okay. So in the water one, basically, why you should know that why the most important thing in this part one is basically they're gonna ask you for the test one. Why? So you should know how to differentiate what is a chemical test and what is a physical test. So chemical test of water basically means to test the presence of it. Why? So which means why either you're going to use an anhydrous copper 2 sulfate, which is CuSO4, or either you're going to use a cobalt chloride anhydrous one. Why? Remember this test one in your paper 6, they didn't provide it. You still have to memorize one because in the this year major paper 1, they already asked already. Why? So I will suggest you still have to memorize this test. Then the copper 2 sulfate is white to blue. Then copper 2 chloride is blue to pink. The major paper they ask this one. Right? So you still have to remember. Okay, it's one of the tests. Then physical test basically is to test the purity. Whether the water is pure or impure one, then we only use boiling point. We normally don't use melting point. Why? Because you have to purposely go freeze it, then you put melt. Why? Extra just boil can do. Okay. Boom. Okay. Right. Okay, that's it. But then the impure water one, you guys need to remember. Impure water one, so the melting point will be lower than the pure water, and then the boiling point will be higher than the pure water one. So normally they won't ask you to fill in, but then they will come out in paper 2. They ask you which answer is correct. So will be roughly like -2 and 102, something like this. Right? But then -3 also can write. Why? So we normally don't memorize one. They didn't ask you to memorize. So you just have to know lower and higher. The range is bigger. Okay. Okay. Then the next one. So of course for the purity of water one, why? So sometimes you know that our water is impure one, and sometimes you get pure water one. But you have to understand that is we don't drink pure water one. We normally drink white mineral water, why as part of the healthier water one. Pure water with the distilled water, why with basically no nutrition purpose. But then in chemistry they won't ask one. So that's why for this purification of water one, it's not making distilled water. It's not making distilled water. Distilled water still use synthetic distillation. Right? But then this one method is to try to remove those impurity, but either it's an insoluble impurity or either it's going to be the soluble impurities. So that's why your syllabus one asks you to remember this few. So I already separate 3 steps for you one, but then for this diagram, they won't ask in chemistry. Why? Only in biology they ask you label. Okay, you're not learning how to sell all this industrial stuff. Why? So I can tell you one, the first method one, they have to go through sedimentation and filtration. Why? Even you say filtration cannot be. You don't have to say sedimentation. So basically, filtration purpose is to remove insoluble particles. Okay, but they do ask one time before, how do you remove insoluble particles? We don't use filter paper. Why? You're going to use a very large filter paper in this case. So in terms of the industrial method one, normally they use sand and gravel. Or they do ask one time, but it's very much paper. They do ask what is the purpose of sand and gravel. Is to filter the insoluble particles. That's all. Okay, right? Then afterwards, once you've done filtration, then we put carbon on. In biology, you don't learn this one. But then in chemistry, because it's part of your syllabus, you still have to know it. The carbon basically is supposed to remove the taste and odors, right? Like example, if you have stomachache, that's why you eat charcoal pure. Why? To remove all the impurities. Why? Basically soluble impurities. Right? Then another impurities one, but it's more to biology one, is going to chlorination. So the chlorination, of course, you know, is to remove bacteria. Okay, but how to remove bacteria? We'll ask in chemistry. It's just a difficult step. Okay, that's all. And right. Okay, and we done water already. Okay, then the next one, why we more focus on the air. Why? So for the air one, in summary, I can tell you, we're going to learn the non-pollutant one and the pollutant one. So focus on, we start with the non-pollutant. So of course, non-pollutant involving 79 nitrogen gas. Why then, sorry, why 79? Why the number, sorry, why you put 78? You change, guys, 78%. We normally learn 78%. Whole number is 78%. Then 21% oxygen. Now follow the below one. Why? Nitrogen gas in whole number is 78%, oxygen is 21%, 1% is the remaining. But then if can, you highlight, if you combine the total of nitrogen, oxygen, and your argon, total will be 99% of your non-polluted air. Okay, I repeat. Nitrogen plus oxygen plus argon one total will be contributed majority of your non-polluted air. Why? That's why this three is the most common one. Why? Then the remaining 0.1% it will be the extra stuff on it. Why? Those extra one will be your carbon dioxide, your water, all these things. Okay. Why? Then of course it is non-pollutant. Why? What is the purpose of it one? So why they do ask, but then you can use a common sense way to explain it. Right? So like example, oxygen most of the time in terms of chemistry used for combustion, like welding. Welding metal means like you melt the metal, you burn something to melt the metal. Why we call welding? But mainly for combustion. Why? Nitrogen basically, if they ask for in terms of chemical industry, then which is a Haber process. Why? So that's why you write Haber process. Why? Okay, then of course there are some food packaging. Why they want ask that. Okay. Then the last one, of course, we learned yesterday one, argon used for divorce. Why? Then since each of them have their own purpose, right? So that's why most of the time we want pure oxygen, pure nitrogen, or pure argon one. Why? So that's why in your exam you must know. And just to inform you, this is one of the industrial methods. Why? Remember I told you industrial method, so far we learned Haber, contact, extraction of metal, and this is one of it also. I told you industrial method is like combine a few chapters together. Why? So they ask one of the one. So that's why separation of the air also one of the industrial method. Why? Normally in exam question, they like to ask about how do you describe why to separate the nitrogen oxygen without explaining the step. I repeat, most of the time the question for this industrial method, they most likely they will ask you whether how do you describe why the reactions only. But long time haven't explained the step. So that's why I will ask you to pay attention. In case they ask for the step how to like extract the nitrogen oxygen, then I can tell you the keyword. If you want to memorize the whole thing, it's up to you. So I can tell you the keyword first. First thing first, when you want to separate nitrogen oxygen, you have to cool everything become liquid. Let's say cool down until they become liquid. Compress is up here, but cool down is the main one. But how low is the temperature also important. Why? Then second step, you slowly warm up. You increase the temperature slowly. Then you please memorize why nitrogen boiling point is lowest. Nitrogen boiling point is the lowest one, which means oxygen will be collected as a liquid. Nitrogen will be open. Which is something like this. Why? Nitrogen still gas one. But then only oxygen one is the one that will still remain as a liquid. Okay? And that's how they get pure oxygen and pure nitrogen. A long time they ask already. But industrial step.